everybody. Okay, so it's your girl Candace, and this is my first podcast episode. And I'm very excited because we have a literal angel in the building. So we are sitting with community activists, and I said literal angel in the HIV education research and prevention spaces.
Period.
Daniel Thompson. He got wings, okay? So Daniel.
Yes.
First, tell us everything that you're doing in the community. Real quick,
Right.
just like a cap, because we're gonna go back into that at the back end of the episode.
So, my name is Daniel Thompson. Hello.
DNR.
Basically, my professional title is a PrEP navigator, which basically means I work in HIV prevention and research, doing sex education, testing, outreach, speaking engagements, grant writing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but pretty much everything that you could think of under the scope of HIV prevention and research.
Okay, perfect. And how did you get started in that?
So, long story short, I actually received my diagnosis of being HIV positive back in spring of 2015. So,
Okay.
8 years now. Yeah, 8 years. I had the privilege of being a patient at St. Jude at the time.
Okay.
And if anybody knows St. Jude, of course, we know they're miracle workers. So they were able to literally start me on medication.
Out here doing the Lord's work.
Baby, the Lord's work. But I was able to start my medication literally the day of my diagnosis, which is the uncommon story. But of course, I know we'll get into that a little later. But
Right.
since starting my medication so early in my diagnosis, I was able to attain undetectable status.
Okay.
Which of course means I cannot transmit the virus if having unprotected sex. But that was kind of the jump start for me. So I wanted to turn a negative into a positive, some lemon into lemonade.
Right.
But that's how I got into the field. So I started volunteering shortly after that, and then got into my public health career. So it's been 6 years now, being paid to work in public health.
That's important. Okay.
Paid.
So I'm gonna go into the questions before we get into everything that you do, because he's doing incredible things in the community. But before we get into all of that, because you got a long resume, because he's my friend, and when I saw his bio, I was like, ooh, I don't even know him. So what people are going to want to know, right, is that with receiving, and I educated you about my audience, right? So I have a predominantly straight audience. So my audience is going to want to know, like, how does it feel to have certain stigmas that certain people still have about HIV, right? Because there's so much research that have been done, and we've come a long way. Absolutely. And just talk about that, because there's so many stigmas still about like HIV, like people being scared of like cups, or if you bleed or something like that. Like, break that down.
So, again, I come from a place of having privilege with my diagnosis. Being somebody that was volunteering in the space already, I was educated about certain things. And so I thankfully did not really receive a lot of the stigma that normally people will receive sometimes with this diagnosis. A lot of the stigma, which if you don't know what that means, it's kind of casting shame or making somebody feel weird about something that they may have or a condition.
Trying to make you feel like you a hoe.
Right. When, like you said, we've had so much research done, people living with HIV now are able to live as normal lives, as sometimes better life than people that may have diabetes or cancer or something like that.
Yeah, because you could definitely probably outrun me right now.
Well, I do work out. Shout out to my trainer. But yeah, so some things that some people do experience are, of course, maybe being ostracized or shamed from their communities. Of course, we live in the Bible Belt, so unfortunately, there has been a lot of religious trauma sometimes put about that.
Yeah.
But I think it just comes with education. We don't have a lot of education when it comes to health and wellness or sexual education in general, even though our state and our city are probably some of the top 5 in infections and new diagnoses every single year. So, just to put that out there, that's not to scare you.
No.
I'm just trying to give you the true tea, the facts, the data.
Right. Okay. So how did you feel, like, take yourself back to spring 2015 when you first found out? How old were you at the time?
Okay, so just turned 30. Hey, 30. But I was, oh my God,
it was like, what,
8 years ago, so I was 22.
22.
Yeah, 22.
Ooh, okay, so that's young.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you first found out? Like, did you know exactly how you got it? Who gave it to you? Did you confront them? Like, how did all of that come about?
I did know where I contracted it from. I do know who the person was and everything, and we've had conversations before. It wasn't anything negative. It wasn't like any non-consensual situation. It was very much a consensual situation when it happened.
Wait, so you knew he was positive?
Yes, I did.
Really?
Yes, I did.
And you was like, let's go for it?
Yeah.
Y'all, wow, that's love. Okay, so first of all, I don't want no man telling me that you can't accept my gut or nothing like that. Cause baby, that is love. I love that.
And at the time, I was taking the HIV prevention medication called PrEP.
Break down PrEP real quick.
So,
because a lot of people so you would be surprised at how many people do not know about PrEP and how it works.
Girl, perfect. That's my job. So, like I was saying, so I can kind of relate this to my story as well.
Okay.
So PrEP is basically a big acronym meaning pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is a big word for prevention. So just remember prevention.
Pre-exposure prophylaxis.
Yes.
Okay.
With prophylaxis.
Prophylaxis.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is big pharmaceutical words for prevention. You take a pill every single day. I always relate it to birth control because a lot of people are familiar with that. You take it every single day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're building up antibodies, a barrier around your white blood cells, which are the antibodies inside of you that the virus is trying to attach to replicate itself. And so the PrEP gives you protection around that. And so when I was engaging with that person, I was on PrEP. However, this is where things can go wrong. When you stop taking things that are preventative for months, what does that do?
Well, then it don't do what it's supposed to do.
See, why can't people just understand that?
So people don't be taking their PrEP?
That's just in general with medication in general that we're supposed to take for prevention. Not even just in the HIV field. That goes to diabetes, arthritis.
Yeah.
You know how we're human. It happens.
Yeah. I ain't taking my antivirals for my flu. I don't have it right now. No, I mean when I had it.
Don't make me get you.
No.
But yes, so that's how the medication works. And I was taking it when we initially started dating.
Okay.
But being young and dumb and full of love, I decided to take myself off the medication. I was like, well, I don't need it. I know he's doing what he needs to be doing. And there was nothing for me to be upset with him about when I got my diagnosis because we had already had our conversation. And I had a conversation with myself back in high school. You remember when I came out?
Mm-hmm.
That's how long we've known each other.
Yeah.
This ain't new. But I had a conversation with myself in high school. Like, there are things out here that I can get.
Mm-hmm.
And if it happens, nothing I do is without consent. So
right.
I always agree to it.
Okay.
So whatever happens, I was going to have to own up to that and just take it with me. So that's what I did.
Okay. You handled that so well. Like, okay. Well, your story is very unique because, like you said, it was consensual. Yeah. And
that's not the case for everybody.
Right.
I know that's not the case for a lot of people.
Okay. And so, also, what a lot of people don't know is you can't actually get it unless the person fetishes, like unless you have exposure to their semen. Is that how it works?
So there are a couple ways.
Okay.
Of course, the most popular, of course, is semen.
Okay.
Can I say that?
Actually, I don't know. Can you say semen on YouTube?
We got
Can you
semen.
say? Okay, let's just say the white stuff. Yeah.
So, of course, a lot of people are familiar with that. That is, of course, a key way to have transmission because, of course, that is a bodily fluid. Mm-hmm. There's also blood as well. Of course, needle injections, things of like that, sharing needles, breast milk. So these are all different ways for transmission. Yes, I know a lot of people always feel like spit is something. Look,
no, it's not.
Look, I'm telling you now, you have to have gallons of spit, baby, to have a transmission. So please right. So a kiss, a hug, that is not going to do it unless there is a open sore or a lesion or something like that a bodily fluid can be transferred. So spit is.
But even
low.
if they had an open sore, once it hits the oxygen, it's no longer like alive, is it?
So if it's definitely inside, which you can get sores on the inside of your mouth.
Right.
Sex education coming out. Mm-hmm. That is a thing. That of course that's moisture on the inside of your mouth. So that one's always until it's fully healed and scabbed over or whatever.
Right.
That is definitely still going to be transmittable for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So when you first found out, did you already, being that you were in a pretty mature headspace about it, so did you already like kind of decide how you were going to have that conversation with your family, friends, future dating? Like where was you at with your partner at the time? Did y'all think y'all was gonna get married or like
We did. Unfortunately, that relationship did end maybe a year later. We're still friends though. We're
Okay.
cool. So there's no negative there.
Okay.
Again, at that point in my life, I was semi-volunteering in the space in a sense. So
Okay.
I kind of knew a little thing about HIV and what it was and how it affected and stuff like that. I did not tell my parents for probably maybe like 2 or 3 years.
Really? That's
Just-
a long time, Danor.
Well, I mean, it's personal. It's
Yeah,
a
it
personal
is.
thing. Like I think sharing something like that is one of the most vulnerable things you can do.
Not for real.
And so, right, like So it took me a minute to really warm up to the idea of like letting them into that aspect of my life.
Okay.
And when I told them, there definitely were some points for education and update. Because I think a lot of people still have that mindset of like the 1980s and the 1990s when
You gonna die.
right, and especially with the success and points that Pose, the TV show, was able to do. Thank you, Ryan Murphy and all of them, and Janet Mock and all those sickening people.
Mm-hmm.
But them highlighting it, I think, brought that thought process back up for a lot of people and made it more modern. So I think that's still kind of how people look at HIV as a new diagnosis. But I mean, look at me.
Yeah.
Skin,
It is not a
body,
death sentence the way that it used to be, and people really like, I don't know, it's crazy, and that's why I had to bring you to my people today, because I was like, I need you to educate the people. Okay, so you ended your relationship with it's looking like 23. You said it was like your later.
Yeah.
So at 23, right? You're volunteering, you're learning more, you're getting more involved in the community, you're learning more about the research, and I know that the research is expanding every single year. So how do you date? Like, how do you have this conversation? Like, is there like a community? Is it like Christian mingle or like Black people meet? Is there like, positivedignosis.com, we all come in love? Like, how does that work? And I because what if, okay, because like, some people that, even though, right, they can act like there may not be they don't feel icky about it, but then people are always like behind closed doors to somebody else that doesn't have a positive diagnosis. They'll be like, no, I'm not gonna like date somebody that. So how does that work out for you when you go back into the dating spaces as a 23-year-old man?
So first off, I'm laughing because, girl, you act like you know the apps I was on, Jacked and Grindr and Scruff. Baby, I'm gay. I'm not on Christian Mingle. No shade, no shade to the girls. But
what I meant by that is like, is there a community? Kind of like there's a community for like, Black women this, or people that like to do this, or people that want to share their love for golf,
So, thankfully, I will say the one of the amazing good things and many good things that we have here in Memphis, we do have a lot of service organizations that do work in this field. So yes, there is a community, but as far as dating goes, it was a little awkward in the beginning because, I mean, you do have to let people know.
Yeah.
For those of you that do not know, Tennessee is a state that does still have criminalization laws for people who are positive that do not disclose their status. So
what is so with that being the law, do you have to let them know before you're intimate with them, or do you have to let them know like on the first date when y'all pull up at Red Lobster? How does that work?
So I normally let people know the first interaction normally, especially for meeting on the apps, because y'all that know me and my community, if you on the apps, you know what we on there for. But yeah, I mean, I let people know off the jump because I don't want any misconstruation of, I don't even know if that's a word, but misconstruation, you know what I mean?
They know what you mean. Y'all know what I mean.
Of words or phrases, or you thinking I'm lying to you. It took me about a year though to get comfortable being that open.
Okay.
And actually changing it on my profile to include that. Because again, like
so that's on your dating profiles. Yeah. Like,
well, when I was on the apps, I'm not on the apps anymore. I'm single, but I'm on the apps anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's
Imagine,
when I was.
listen, imagine if like everybody had to put every little thing about them that like no one else, like other people may have found imperfect, like narcissist on there.
Doesn't it give you like intrusion? Like intrusion of like my
Yeah,
privacy?
it does
Okay.
kinda.
Right.
Because I think that like if you put it, I love it that you feel comfortable enough to do that, but at the same time, I think that it's also like your right to
Come on.
have a dating profile, and that shouldn't be the first thing that somebody should has to know about you, right? Like I think that you deserve the opportunity, regardless of your positive diagnosis. You deserve the opportunity to have a dating profile, and if somebody clicks on your picture, likes
Mhm.
you, gets to know you, and then you disclose that, then they can make a decision right then and there. And as long as you disclose it before you guys have any type of I guess like
Yeah.
interaction, I think that that's fair to everybody. So I appreciate you for doing that, but also I kind of feel like that is a little, because you don't really have to do that.
Because I look at it like this. Are you putting on your dating profile when the last time you got an STI check? Are you
No,
putting on there the last time you had a yeast infection?
no,
Oh, okay.
nope. I
Now, does
don't.
it mean that you should still not communicate that? Because of course you don't want to pass something on to somebody. But again, that is being intrusive into my privacy, into
Right,
my bodily autonomy.
right. Because first of all, if y'all knew the amount of Americans that that has herpes, what is it, like
Baby.
1 in 6?
It pretty much we all have some
We
strand.
well, yeah, it lays in the body
But
like dormant
of course,
until
depending, I'm not a doctor, but I do work in public health.
yeah. So he the closest to it in this
Right.
room. So Dr. Daniel, what you mean?
But yeah.
But no, like lots of Americans have herpes, and if you want to, okay, I always said this. I don't know if I should publicly say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I've always said that herpes is a lot scarier than HIV. And the reason I say that is because there's different types of herpes, and there's some that are more aggressive, and depending on your body type, some may affect people differently. And there are some outbreaks that people may get. Some people may not get outbreaks for like a couple of months. Some might get them every 3 weeks, and some can be like terrible to deal with.
And you know what all of this goes back to?
Well,
Having actual education in schools.
right.
Because that would answer so many people's questions if there was actual comprehensive sex education in schools. But where we live, of course, that's not possible.
Yeah.
And so we have people that don't, understand simple things and how to check your body and how to look over yourself.
Checking ping pings. You need to check them ping pings before y'all put y'all mouths on them.
Absolutely, you need to check everything before anything before you put in your mouth. You need to check first off whether that's sexual or not. Even if you're eating something, check.
Yeah, you might have hair in your food,
and you could get a lawsuit and a cute payout
or a bump on your lip.
That is also true.
But no herpes, because if you think there's no cure, so like, and I look at where like HIV research has gone now, like literally almost all of my friends that are HIV positive are what is it, non-detectable.
Undetectable.
They're undetectable.
So
almost all of them.
So you equals you. So undetectable equals untransmittable.
So if you're undetectable, you can't pass it to somebody.
Absolutely.
Look at what we is in 2023.
I think it's giving one next step to a vaccine.
Yeah, really.
Which I hope.
Look at what Magic Johnson did for us.
Okay. Magic Johnson. Let me tell you something. Magic Johnson is still very much positive.
Is he?
Oh yes, very much so. He is positive.
I thought he had the $1 million drugs.
No. Please don't believe that, y'all. Don't Google. Don't be aware.
Everybody said he was cured.
No.
He got that special shot you had to pay $5 million for.
Okay. He may be part of a research study, but I guarantee you he is still very much so positive, just like myself. But we just look good. We take care of ourselves. We're drinking our water, minding our business.
Oh, I'm just playing, y'all. He ain't get no $5 million shot. I said that. I thought he did though, for real.
No, for real.
He did.
That's why I'm here to dispel these myths.
Because everybody said he was cured,
and he's not.
Okay, well, either way, almost all my friends that were positive diagnoses are literally undetectable. Like, I don't think I know anybody right now that's. Yeah. Almost everybody I know.
All that means is somebody is going to their appointments regularly, taking their medication,
Taking
like
care of
they're supposed to, and
themselves. Right.
taking care of themselves.
Love it. Okay. Who is Daniel at 30? You've come a long way since, all of that stuff, finding out your positive diagnosis, and you've handled that in a great way, and you've turned that into amazing community work. What are you doing right now to leave your mark on just the whole entire culture?
Oh my God. So I'll do it like this. I have a 5 and a 10-year plan.
Okay.
So Daniel now is an advocate. He's an organizer. He's a leader. He's a paid consultant.
Okay.
Hey. And in the next 5 years, I hope to have finished graduate school.
Okay.
In 10 years, I hope that my nonprofit Headliners Memphis is its own physical entity where we are providing not just sexual health and comprehensive sex education, but free clinic, free health care, Black owned, Black ran, Black physicians, Black therapists, people of color, just making it all about the people that are in the community and have them look at somebody that looks like them, giving them health care that they need.
I love it. I love it. And you also talked about one thing that you said earlier was you said that you had privilege in your experience. Paint a picture of what it may look like for somebody that does not have privilege. Because when you get a positive diagnosis and you are where do you go with that when you don't have health insurance and you may not have family support and you work in a dead-end job and you find this out and you barely went to the doctor before then, you know what I'm saying? And so you're trying to figure out, where do I go with getting the resources to make sure that I take care of myself in today's time? Because we can have all the research in the world, but if you don't have access to it, you know what I'm saying, you can't be Magic Johnson.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm not Magic Johnson.
Right.
I don't have anywhere near his wealth. I don't want anybody to be confused. But can I come from it from two aspects?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it quick. But so I would hope that anybody that is diagnosed here in Shelby County, Memphis, Tennessee, wherever you are diagnosed, they are immediately referring you over to a medical case manager to be enrolled in Ryan White services, which are health and housing services for people that live with HIV. So I hope that is the case. And if that is the case within that first week of diagnosis, hopefully the first 24 hours of diagnosis, that person will already be of a privilege of not your normal person, because they will be connected to somebody instantly to receive services with medical case management, medical care, pharmaceutical, prescription coverage, and housing. Now, if there's somebody who...
Housing, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, of course, there are qualifications. I am not a Ryan White case manager, but those are services and things that are available to people that are living with HIV. Now, of course, if you're tested here, maybe you receive that diagnosis and you're not somewhere that specializes in that particular specialty of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
The worst case scenario is that person may not be connected to anybody. That person may go into depression. That person may never pick up medication. That person may go from an HIV diagnosis to an AIDS diagnosis. So just so y'all know,
does that happen in today's time? I literally have not heard of people catching AIDS, getting to the point of AIDS in so long.
So of course, just to reiterate, you have to have an HIV diagnosis to have an AIDS diagnosis. It's very rare nowadays that you have an AIDS diagnosis.
And that's what I'm saying. I haven't heard of anybody dying from AIDS in a while.
It does still happen.
Okay.
Yes, you are correct as far as AIDS diagnoses have gone down because of, as you said, the research, the prevention, all of the things that have come. But some people are still in denial. Some people receive that stigma so heavy that they don't even want to engage in care because they've gotten in their heads that they don't really have this.
Really?
It's just something. Yes, that is a thing. And that's not just with HIV. That's with a lot of chronic diseases. Wow. People with cancer have gone through things like this where maybe it's just you don't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't want to believe it and you yourself don't believe it, you're not going to engage in the treatment or prevention. Some
people that have herpes, they will not go and get their medication. They have this idea that diet will cure it. Mm-hmm. And if I just eat fruits and vegetables and grass and just drink water, it'll go away.
I am somebody that believes in science. That's just
Yeah, me
That
too.
is just
I was
me.
like, okay.
I'm not knocking anybody.
Yeah, like I don't, and that's my thing. Like I'm like, okay, that's very possible, but please go see a doctor. Like,
I am not knocking anybody's
right.
routine or rituals. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to be a WebMD, you go be the best WebMD you can be.
Right.
But I am a person that likes to go people that went to the
Yeah.
medical of the school.
Yeah.
Have an M and a D.
Yeah.
Specialize in infectious disease.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
Yeah.
So,
and
you
unfortunately,
do what's
y'all,
best for you.
let's say there's somebody out there, they're young. Unfortunately, they get a positive diagnosis. How much time do you have? Like, let's say they wasn't taking their PrEP. How much time do they have to get to care before they would ever, like, their body starts to react to anything? Like, how does that work?
So now I love how you're guiding this. You're just my girl. So yes, so if somebody is on PrEP, let's say they maybe have missed some doses.
Mm-hmm.
If they've been on it long term, they should still be good as far as remaining negative. However, we do have instances where we can use PEP. So of course we've got PrEP, we've got treatment, and in between that we've got PEP.
Oh.
So PEP stands for post-exposure prophylaxis, which is another prevention method. But this is if somebody is exposed to the virus. So if they have had unprotected sex and they feel as though they have been exposed to HIV, they have 72 hours to get on the PEP prescription, which is a 21-day regimen, which, again, I'm not a doctor, but I'm not going to say it completely rids the virus, but it does give you that protection and keeps you negative. And what we try to do with people that are on PEP is to immediately start them on PrEP to remain that HIV negative status.
Got you. Okay, so you just had a night, that person maybe calls you the next day, hey, I have a positive diagnosis. We were probably drunk. You need to go do something about this. They need to go to the doctor immediately.
What if this is on the weekend? Who they gonna call?
Baby, you need to go to urgent care.
Who got $400 for urgent or $200 for urgent care?
Yeah. Okay, so who they call? I don't know. I don't know. You got to tell the people. I don't know. Because I'm thinking about. I'm asking for like college students, right? Because that's the age group that's like we get drunk. We have these crazy nights. We do these things, and then you wake up the next morning and you don't know what could have happened, what you could have done, and now you have to figure out like, oh my God, where do I go from this? Who do I call? And most of the time at that age, you may or may not have health insurance. You probably ain't got no money, or you probably will have to call your parents. You may not want to.
I was about to say, or you're on your parents' insurance and you don't want them to find out. You don't want them to get their good paperwork in the mail with their benefits.
Right. So
they can, of course, reach out to me, myself or my co-director, DeMarcus Jones. We run Headliners Memphis. We are a referral source. There are places like Friends for All, The Corner, Out Memphis, My Job Christ Community, where we're able to contact amazing pharmacies like the Community Walgreens here on Union that are sometimes able to get us that PEP medication because, again, you have 72 hours.
Right.
So it has to be something very quick.
Okay.
And thankfully, I have built relationships with people with various organizations to provide their service within 24 hours.
Okay. That's amazing. And also keep in mind, my YouTube is international, so people are gonna be watching this from everywhere. So what types of organizations would somebody in any other state look for? Like, what would be the Google search that they would need to find organizations like the ones you just listed in Memphis?
So, of course, if you're in America, especially with college students, look to see if your university has a gay-straight alliance. Look to see if there is a gay and lesbian community center, especially if you're on the West Coast or up north. I would assume that those are pretty available and accessible. If you are comfortable or if you feel comfortable, if you're so privileged to be in a city where there is a gay club, go to the club. Majority of the time, people that work in public health like myself, girl, we doing testing or some type of referral service at the club. So
really? You do testing at the club?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God, you really are an angel on earth.
Where am I gonna meet you if I'm not coming to the club? I gotta go where the people
are. That's so beautiful. You can turn up and go check. And even if you there in the club feeling guilty, like, oh, I made a mistake last night, you could go get tested.
We never give results the night of. I'm never going to, whether you're getting a negative or a positive, I am not going to give you that. I'm not going to give you that heavy of a news that night. I want you to enjoy yourself and dance the night away.
Okay. 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 So you
But
call them the next day.
Next business day.
Next business day.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now you cutting into their pep time now.
Well, normally, if I'm testing, it's on a Saturday.
Okay.
Which means if I get a call on Sunday, by Monday you'll be good. So I'll still be in your. Oh, girl, baby, professional.
Okay.
got it mapped out.
Okay, you watching them dance and they laugh away. It's like you couldn't. They pep time.
No.
Okay. All right. So I only playing. Okay. So resources, everything. Let's talk about headliners and let's talk about what you're doing in the city real quick. We got about 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay, I got you.
So let's drop everything that you're doing, and then after you drop all of that, I want you to drop your social media so everybody can find you, support you, and support everything that you are doing and the community organizations that you work with.
All right, so real quick, guys, I have the pleasure of being a co-director for Headliners Memphis, which is a grassroots local LGBTQ plus ran and owned by people of color in the LGBTQ space. We are cultural curators. We curate events, let people be the headliner of their own narrative. See what I did there? And we have tough conversations that sometimes people don't want to have, and we always create safe spaces. So please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Headliners901 on Instagram, and on Facebook at Headliners Memphis.
I'm gonna put that in the description box. So all this information, you don't even have to spell it out.
Y'all know in YouTube land.
Yeah.
Other organizations that are doing great work: Christ Community Health Services out Memphis, We Care Tennessee, My Sister's House, The Haven, Friends for All, Memphis Area Prevention.
Wow.
So many different organizations.
I love this.
If you follow us on our socials, you'll see a lot of those organizations tagged, so that way you're able to inform yourself of what we got going on right here in the 901. And my personal Instagram is Oreo Delight 2. Come follow me. Look at the doll.
I noticed that a lot of the organizations that you said are for the LGBTQ community. What about a man or a woman that is straight? Where would they go?
So I'll first say this. A lot of research that's coming down the line and grants that are coming down the line are targeted towards Black cisgender women, which basically cis means born as,
right.
Identify as a sex you're born as. And that includes my straight Black women like yourself.
Because they are catching the diagnosis like crazy in Atlanta,
they are the
Memphis.
They are the new number one demographic, my Black cis hetero women.
You want to know why some of that is, right? Some of them. Some of the husbands be on the day. I saw the Tyler Perry movie.
I'll just say this: educate yourselves, do some research. Please see your doctor, because STIs, HIV, any chronic disease doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have a race. It doesn't have a sexuality.
It don't.
If you are engaging in unprotected sex, first off, I want you to have the best sex life for your. I get paid to talk about sex majority of the time, so I want you to have the best sex life. But educate yourself and protect yourself at all means, and make sure that consent is always in the room.
So what do you say for people that are married?
Still, make sure that consent is in the room, and make sure that you're protecting yourselves. I have patients who are on PrEP and in treatment that are in couples that are married. And all I'll say is, I think the more open we become to sexuality as a spectrum, and not contracted to be so conservative.
Ooh, you gonna make my audience mad.
I think we will see a lot of progress in coming to lower numbers of diagnosis.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Daniel. We didn't win. Look, we didn't win. I'm gonna have to edit this.
And one last thing, I do want to just say happy Trans Day of Visibility and Remembrance. We're filming this on the exact day.
Yes.
So shout out to all of my beautiful Black, powerful, iconic trans Black women and trans Black men. We love you and we cherish you.
Love you so much. Okay. Thank y'all so much. This has been my first episode. I have a next episode coming soon. I'm thinking about having a sex therapist on next. So drop down in the comments who you guys would like to see me interview. The whole purpose of this podcast is to bring in experts to start breaking down those narratives, because we see a whole lot of foolishness and untruths online, and it's time to start bringing the truth to the surface. And so that's why I like to bring in professionals in whatever that they are. Anybody with I would say I have this rule, even though I know that you may not have 10 plus years experience, you have more than enough experience. But I have this rule of 10 years experience in their field, so that way you can educate the people on whatever it is. So thank y'all for watching. I got another episode coming to you, and make sure to follow me on all my socials. They'll be below. Everything to follow Daniel will be in the description box or tagged. Love y'all. Peace.